Okay, hello everyone and welcome to class. I'm Kelly Battles and my contact information is right up there. For all of our virtual listeners today, it is Saturday, February 4, 2017. A reminder that class starts promptly at 10:30 and to remember to run your audio setup wizard as soon as you come into class. And also always lower your electronic hand. A few reminders. Remember to turn off your phone, shut your door, put up a do not disturb sign, and prepare to focus on our lesson today. But first, let's do a quality check. First of all, can you see the record sign in the upper right? Thanks. And are my PowerPoint slides visible with the word quality check at the top? And lastly, can you hear me adequately? Great. Okay, so first of all, an icebreaker. What I'd like you to do is consider this sentence from Garrison. It's probably the shortest sentence in the entire textbook. Connectivity is not enough. And I'd like you to tell me what you think this quote from Garrison means in the context of e-learning.
I think it means that just being connected doesn't mean that you're going to have quality education. So you can be connected to people but not necessarily have meaningful discussion or any sort of deep learning going on.
That sounds really good.
I love that you said that was the shortest sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, by 30 words probably. Yes, I think he's saying that there's no teaching, there's not necessarily a teaching presence or even a social presence just because you're connected. Marianne said it better first, but I wanted to participate.
That is right on target, both of you guys. Thanks. Okay, so our big question today is, how can we implement the community of inquiry framework in a practical manner? Basically, how do we put into practice all of the theories that we've been talking about? Our learning objectives for today are that by the end of the lesson, you should be able to describe how the emergence of Web 2.0 intersects with the COI framework, identify some guidelines for practice when implementing the COI principles, and finally, apply these guidelines to the analysis of a case study. So Web 2.0 is a concept where people talk about how technology has shifted from the original Web 1.0 of the late 90s, early 2000s, which was only read-only. You would sit in front of a screen and you would read and absorb content that the websites had provided for you, to Web 2.0, which is really characterized by the rise of social media, which has allowed individuals to be able to create content, to interact with each other, to share things. And so, of course, we think, wow, Web 2.0, that sounds like it has amazing potential for collaboration. However, Garrison and other researchers have unfortunately found that is not actually true. So Garrison talks about what he calls the connectivity paradox. And he says that all of these technology tools, social media, mobile technologies, they do not necessarily translate to better collaborative learning. That in the end, they're merely tools and techniques. They don't, of themselves, create a good environment. So what we'll focus on today is some guidelines for practice. These guidelines will be focused primarily on teaching presence for this particular lesson. And we'll go through the three elements of teaching presence: the design and organization, facilitating discourse, and direct instruction as it applies to putting these things into practice. So first of all, design and organization. We sometimes think of this as something that occurs before class even begins, and that is true. You do have to plan your assignments, create your rubrics, do all of those things, but it also continues throughout the course, especially when it comes to introductions. And it's important to have your design be flexible to respond to changing needs throughout the semester. Being careful but flexible, working for clarity, and one of the practical guidelines is to be careful with your introduction. Make sure that you work to humanize yourself and you create warmth. One way to do this is to do a live video, or actually a recorded video. So even though your class maybe doesn't have a synchronous component, to film a short recorded hello video can immediately create that social presence for the teacher, humanizing, creating warmth. Other things you can do is for the students to connect to each other is to create a discussion forum where they can introduce themselves. And if the technology allows for it, encourage them to use audio because, again, that creates that warmth. So after design and organization, our next element of teaching presence is facilitating discourse. And for this, you really have to find a balance. It's important to intervene when it comes to student discussions so that you can guide them, acknowledge the participation, make sure they stay focused on content. Because if you don't intervene, the students can feel abandoned and that will not make them happy. But if you participate too much in terms of getting into the middle of their discourse, they can become very passive because you're doing the work for them. So that's something to really keep in mind. And then the last element is direct instruction. And again, here you have to find a middle ground. Don't be the cliche sage on a stage giving lecture. And don't be a guide on the side where you never take on the authority of the content expert. It's actually good sometimes for the teacher to step back and say, yes, I am the expert and I'm going to give you some direct instruction on this. But then you step back and say, okay, now it's time to guide you through a lot of times a problem-based inquiry such as case studies. That can be something that can really create a community of inquiry. Okay, so speaking of case studies, let us now do one. So here's our prompt. I want you to imagine it's about a week before the semester has started, and you get this email from a student. Hello, Professor. I'm in your upcoming online composition course. I'm nervous. How does this online situation work? I've never done it before. What I'd like you to do is to think about teacher presence in terms of creating warmth, setting a tone, helping students understand how transparent the organization of the class is, and figure out and compose together a response to this student that does create the warmth. If you're able at all to use any terminology from community of inquiry, that would be wonderful. But the basic idea is to create the teaching presence. So I have enabled you to be able to move to your group yourself, to group 1. That's the one I have copied this to. And I'll give you 3 minutes for this. Oh, great. So for our virtual listeners, what I'd like you to do is to compose your own answer to this email and post it on a discussion forum on Pilot. I hope that wasn't too abrupt. Is everyone here and able to hear me? Okay.
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah. So I'm going to try to share the whiteboard from the room. And to do that, let me figure out how to do that. Let's see, select page, copy to main room. Okay. Okay, great. All right. So here we have the teacher should, oh sorry, I should make you guys.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Could one of you guys talk us through this?
Well, Marianne typed first, so she can talk first if she wants to. Or I'll talk. I didn't get finished with my phrase, so I should say that the teacher could explain how the mechanics of it work a little bit, and assure her that everybody is learning at the same time together and that it will work out just fine, and that there will be plenty of written materials telling her exactly what to do, and that as the professor, I am always there to answer her questions and guide her through.
Good job. Marianne, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. So we had a little problems typing on the board with the technology here, but I think maybe even, immediately introducing people the first day and forming that sort of group cohesion, being sure to form a group cohesion in the beginning, knowing that some of the students are a little bit nervous. And I think by doing that, that will create a little bit of trust and respect within the group, and I think that would make that person feel better.
Both of those things sound really on target. I do think that a lot of students enter into the online classroom with a lot of anxiety, and so that can immediately be a barrier for creating a community of inquiry. So taking as much of a chance to establish that warmth is something that will create a more cohesive community. Okay, so let me go back to the slide. Now I know how Sherry feels. Okay, so we just did this case study. So now what we've ended up doing for this lesson is we have gone through the three aspects of teaching presence. That would be design and organization, facilitating discourse, and direct instruction. And we've talked about how we can put into practice some specific principles for the community of inquiry in the online environment. And we've also given a little bit of a warning about how Web 2.0 technology doesn't always translate to automatic collaboration. So if you have any questions about the material we've looked at today, please feel free to email me and we can go over it. And finally, to know more about all of this material, refer to Garrison's textbook. Thank you very much.